Are you drowning in insulin? Are you just full of it? Well, that was my journey. That was my life. If you'd like to follow my journey, just hit the like button, subscribe, and hit that bell so I can continue to tell you my story. But I'm telling you, when I first found out about diabetes and what it was and what's the main purpose, the reason why I have this, like, okay, you can give me medication to be able to try to help the resistance of insulin, but I just wanted to fix the main source. So I don't know if you've ever been where it's just so frustrating. It's very depressing sometimes, and sometimes there's a point where I just lay there and just say, like, I'm just drowning in insulin basically, because it's not pushing the sugar or the carbs in my cells. My cells are all locked up, and all the problems I have, freaking urination, getting up at night all the time, not feeling good. Sometimes, the sugar's high, you can just feel it. And possibly, problems that people have, neuropathy of the feet, tingling of the feet, falling asleep, and all these things that are problems with nerves and so forth. Diabetes is not something where, hey, I'm going to die of diabetes, but all the side effects comes from it. I'm going to die. And with my sugar being so high, it was just a point where I know that I was deteriorating. But I just want to share, how I perceive this. Insulin, the pancreas is going to keep pumping that insulin out. It's going to pump it out, and because the cells are not getting, the energy that it's supposed to be getting. So the pancreas is like, oh my gosh, I got to help. Continue to do that, and all of a sudden you're just full of insulin, but all that sugar goes right into your bloodstream, and that's where you have the high blood sugar, and the sugar is destroying. Especially if you're eating processed sugar, that processed sugar is just terrible. And talk about, cardiovascular disease and all these things. So to reverse that, what I did is the carnivore diet. Carnivore diet helped me understand how I could get to the point where I dry myself out. Say, how can I dry myself out? I'm just soaked in this. I don't know if you ever, watered a plant or even worked on a garden, but if you water too much, the roots kind of rot. And that's what happens with your body with diabetes. When you ride that high number for a long time and you don't care, maybe you don't care, but maybe you don't understand the concept, is that what you're doing is you're just pouring too much inside your body, and your body's going to rot. The body can't handle it. So what was my steps to take? I said to myself, I got to take some steps to dry myself out. And so the one main point, every time you eat, insulin is produced. Different types of food, especially carbs, insulin's produced. Boom, buckets, water of just insulin drowning. You're just feeding your body, and you're gonna rot. And that's what happens. So the main thing that I did, I said, okay, how do I dry myself out? So I did an investigation on the carnivore diet. So if I'm cutting all the carbs out, that's going to help me. The insulin's not going to be producing as much. And then I thought to myself, if I'm eating all day, because I'm a grazer, so I'm going to eat all day, snack all day, boom. Every time I snack, boom, there goes insulin every time. So I said, how do I keep my body from responding too much insulin in my body? And then I could dry myself out and get the sugar out of my blood. So the main thing I did was I started to eat less. But eating less, that's a tough thing to do, because that's diets that I could never achieve. But when I started to go from needing carbs and carb adaptation, it means your body's set for carbs for energy. That's the way it lives, and that's all it knows. But if you could set the fats to be able to create your energy. So I got protein and fat. So the carnivore diet, in great detail, 80% fat, 20% protein, have different ranges and so forth. But I figured, hey, if butter's not going to create insulin, I'm going to eat butter for the fat. If you eat too much protein, it might cause some insulin. But so what I did is I tried to do a good big meal I would eat in the morning, and then about 1 or 2 o'clock, I'd eat my second meal. And the second meal I'd eat, at first, that's the only 2 meals that I would do, because I thought to myself, well, I want to stop the insulin from producing. I want to dry myself out. So then what happened is that through the day I would get hungry. It was tough, it was tough at first. But then all of a sudden, as my stomach was going through all the changes, because there is changes, especially that first month. But after that first month for me in my journey, all of a sudden I started feeling better. I started having more energy, and I wasn't as hungry. I wasn't hungry anymore where I wanted to snack. So my habit would come if I sat down and watched TV at night. My habit says, "Hey, I should eat something." I'll snack and enjoy a TV show. But it wasn't like that no more. So I would just drink something, carbonated water, whatever it may be, and my stomach would be fine just because of that habit I was trying to fulfill. So by doing that, all of a sudden, my blood started to be able to start getting the sugar out. The insulin was dropping. I didn't have that insulin response. My fatty liver was being taken care of. So it was giving my pancreas a break. So the bottom line is I said to myself, I got to give my pancreas a break. The poor thing for all these years, just trying to, offset and give me some energy by creating that insulin. And it's just not working. It's not balanced right. So when I started to do that, then I felt like my body was being balanced, even after 10 weeks of carnivore. It was amazing the way I felt. I mean, I lay down now and think, wow, I can't believe that I'm all dried out. I'm not soaking in this anymore, and my sugar level is so low. It's exciting. Sometimes when I want to eat something sweet, I'll check my blood sugar. There's that temptation there. And then I pull a 91, it's like, man, that feels better than eating something that's not, good for me. So that's how a lot of times in my mind I say, hey, being with no sugar in my blood is better than having all that sugar in my blood. Non-deterioration of my body, making me feel good, more energy and so forth. And, even the loss of weight that does take place, which was impossible for me, on different diets and so forth. So the carnivore diet, I'm eating the meals that I like, enjoying the food that I love. I love to smoke meat, so I have a lot of flavor in my meat. It's exciting. I'm really excited about it. But the one main part is once I figured it out to dry out that insulin response, to slow it down to a point where I wasn't just constantly having to deal with that, then my body started to change. So, and I'm talking about a lot of side issues that I have, high blood pressure and so forth, even proper nutrition and there's different things that I take. I do have a dietary routine with minerals and having the proper salt and so forth. These are all things that are lined up in the program that I do have called, the carnivore diabetic ladder. So the carnivore is the main source of the dietary, or get your roots all rotten because you keep feeding yourself, you keep grazing, and you just keep pouring it on there. I am not a believer myself in some of the dietary nutritionists out there telling you have to eat all day for a diabetic or your sugar's going to go crazy and so forth. I check my sugar, especially in that first month. I'm checking it all the time to make sure I was okay. Checking it, make sure that, when I got up and got a little dizzy, I check it, and there wasn't any dangerous to low. It's just that my body was so used to riding at 300 that now that is down to, after I eat, it's 124, 140. After eating, after an hour of eating and checking it to see where it's at. And then you check it later and you're back down to the 90s and, 105, 101. And just right in there, it's just amazing that I know that I'm not causing my body to be off balance. So all of a sudden my body starts to adapt. Okay, now the energy comes from fat. That's what the carnivore diet. My ketones are giving me energy. That's where you're changing it. See, so as a carnivore, I am not diabetic. If I go back to my normal life, I'm probably diabetic. Hopefully in time, maybe a few years or whatever of doing the carnivore diet, that my body's really going to fix itself, and that's the goal. But for now, at least it shows me that if someone says, are you diabetic? Absolutely not. I'm not. I'm not diabetic. As long as I'm on the carnivore diet, I'm not diabetic. So I know that my exposure with carbs, my body cannot handle it right now. If you are type 2 diabetic, carbs are not your friend, and you cannot handle that exposure. And when I say exposure, what does that mean? Let's say that I'm a very light complected. Let's say I want to go in the middle of the lake on a boat and lay out there, and being so light complected, I'm going to burn really bad. I'm going to have some serious degree of burn, and my skin's going to be bubbling for a week, and I'm going to have some major issues. So what do I learn? Exposure. Exposure causes problems to my body. So what do I do if I get out of the sun, or let's say I cover my body and don't expose myself to the sun? I'm going to solve my problem, you see? So when you think in your mind, what do I need to do? I need to stop the exposure, and then I also need to dry myself out. So there's a way you can do it. Carnivore diet, the time of eating is real important. And doing this consistently day after day after day, all of a sudden you're going to build some serious momentum. You're going to drop all that sugar out of your blood. Nothing better than getting the sugar out of your blood. So if you want more information, detail on my journey and what I did, the diabetic ladder, just go ahead, and there's a link below. Just go ahead and click on that link and get some more information regarding that. Also, please subscribe so I can tell my story. It'll help others as well. And, hit that bell so I can get you to the next video and tell you more details on my story and my journey as I'm taking this journey and how exciting it's been for me. Thank you so much.